It's happening again. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. In today's top story, we got more bombshell news here. It's been found out that Trudeau Liberals have been giving out $3.5 billion, that's a B, billion dollars of our tax dollars to ineligible businesses as loans. And a lot of these businesses are defaulting. They're not paying back these loans. Canadians losing billions of dollars. This comes up in the House of Commons today. We've also got the opposition days. There's been a bit of a funny situation. So those have been pushed back, but we do have some more updates on that as well. The Liberals using some new dirty tactics in the House of Commons. Let's jump into this.
More proof today that this weak Prime Minister, has lost control of spending. The Auditor General reports that his government gave out $3.5 billion of so-called CBA loans to companies that did not qualify, a total of 77,000 of them. That's 10% of all recipients. On top of that, they then gave a massive implementation contract to high-priced consultants at Accenture who cost $200 million and farmed out a lot of the work to Brazil. Isn't it more proof that this Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption?
Regarding the bombshell news here in Canada that Pierre Poilievre just dropped, we've got the Auditor General of Canada dropping the report here today.
How do you think the federal government should go about retrieving the $8.5 billion that it's owed, and what should be the consequences for the $3.5 billion that was given out to ineligible businesses?
So in the $8.5 billion, there are still loans that are what the industry would call performing. Individuals are still making monthly repayments, and really there's a next big milestone on December of 2026 when all of the loans will become due. There are also loans, however, that have either been defaulted or loans that went to ineligible recipients. We saw that Export Development Canada, during the rollout of the program, identified businesses that were ineligible to the tune of about $2 billion. They were informed and they needed to repay by the end of last year. About $1 billion of that is still uncollected. So I would expect that the government will continue to take action to recover those funds. The other $1.5 billion we identified during our audit because there had been no post-payment work on some of the loans. And that's where Export Development Canada only partially agreed with our recommendations. And I'm concerned about the lack or the reticence, I guess, of wanting to go back and recover funds. EDC first needs to identify if these businesses are really ineligible and then decide whether or not recovery is going to happen. If the government doesn't want to recover, I expect that they're just going to be clear and transparent with Canadians.
There's not a chance that they're going to be clear and transparent. This is appalling. $3.5 billion of ineligible recipients. I'm sick and tired of paying my taxes and having it go to crooks and criminals. This is out of control. This crap makes my blood boil. Team Canada fail. Looks like honest, hardworking Canadians are the ones who will suffer and cover the mismanaging debt from the Liberal NDP government. It's not their money, so they don't care. Keep paying your taxes, Canada.
Mr. Speaker, I find it ironic because for the member from the Mission, Mesky Fraser, actually sent me a letter advocating for CBA loans to support a small business in his own riding. You see, Mr. Speaker, he understands the value of the CBA loans because it was a lifeline for small businesses during an unprecedented time. And so we're going to continue to help support businesses, keep their doors open, keep their lights on, and keep their employees working. Mr. Speaker, I find it's unfortunate because yet this is another example of a letter that the Leader of the Opposition did not know about.
Our members champion their constituents who are eligible for assistance. Not 77,000 companies that should not have received the $3.5 billion in misspent dollars. All this while Canadians are starving. Today, the hunger report is out from Feed Ontario, and there have been 1 million Ontarians who lined up 7 million times at the food bank after this Prime Minister brought in a carbon tax on the truckers and farmers who bring us our food. When will they axe the tax?
Those statistics are absolutely deplorable.
Mr. Speaker, of course, we thank Feed Ontario and the food banks across this country who do amazing work. Let me quote from the report that was just mentioned. In June 2022, those over the age of 75 received a permanent 10% increase in old age security alongside inflationary increases. After that change, the percentage of food bank visitors who were seniors began to decrease. This, in addition to the measures we put forward for families, Mr. Speaker, we will
Is that the carbon tax? Is that the one you're doing for families?
continue to deliver for Canadians while they oppose at every opportunity.
You're delivering climate hysteria that's ruining our country. It's interesting. Trudeau, Freeland, all of them, they're not even answering questions now. They're putting out all these other ministers to answer questions for them.
Over the last 5 years, food prices in Canada have increased 37% faster than in the United States. That gap opened after the introduction of the carbon tax, which this government now, with the NDP's help, wants to quadruple. The consequence is that in the last 4 years, food bank use in Ontario is up 86%, and 1 in 4 children go to school hungry, according to this government's own data. So why won't they axe this crazy plan to quadruple the carbon tax? In fact, why not axe the tax altogether?
Mr. Speaker, yet another example of the Conservative leader talking about one thing and doing another. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to supporting children, we have been negotiating school food agreements that are helping actually 200,000 children across this country, and yet the Conservative leader is opposed to that.
You could hear one of the Conservatives heckling her, saying how many calories in that, because their program only builds bureaucracy. It builds a framework to provide school food, but it doesn't actually provide any school food. It's a bunch of nonsense. If they actually wanted to help kids, they wouldn't have done this because there's already school food programs. They would have just funded the current programs, added money to their budget so they can provide more meals. This is just a way for Justin Trudeau to stick his name on something because he's a narcissistic pig.
He also talks about wanting to hold an opposition day, but we gave him an opportunity today and he ran away from it. Mr. Speaker, that's what weakness looks like when it comes to leadership. Thank you.
So the GST cut, it's now wreaking havoc on businesses, and a lot of businesses are taking a big hit on this. And there's a lot of reports that businesses will be increasing their prices to deal with having to reprogram their machines for the next 2 months, just to deal with this stupid tax cut on very few items. This is hardly a tax break for Canadians. If they really wanted a tax break, they should take off income tax from Canadians for 2 months. As for the Confidence Day motion, we'll get into that after this.
Just a few short years, the Prime Minister has lost control of the deficit of immigration and of our border. He gave us a 2,500% increase in the number of unprocessed refugee claims, and he still thinks that 3 million temporary residents are going to leave this country voluntarily. Canada is staring down the barrel at 25% tariffs thanks to his open border policies, his free drugs for everyone plan, and his economic vandalism. The Prime Minister can mitigate that all today. Where's the Canada First plan to keep our borders safe?
These people just aren't serious. She supports the leader of the opposition who sat idle.
And you are serious? Your leader isn't even in the House of Commons. Where's his plan? Where's the leader? How about that? Justin Trudeau's probably sucking his thumb in his bed.
By in government while they cut money to border enforcement at the Canada-U.S. borders, cut at the immigration refugee border. And for those of them that are saying this is ancient history, we proposed an asylum reform package in May, and you know what the Conservatives did and the clapping seals in the back did at the Finance Committee? They voted against it and voted it down. They can support us in our asylum reform if they so choose. I encourage them to do so.
Speaker, they've been in government for 9 years. They've known for years that immigration was out of control. They knew for years that asylum claims were out of control, and they knew for years that our border was broken. None of what newly elected President Trump has been campaigning on was a secret, and the Prime Minister even threw that minister under the bus for his incompetence in immigration. If we're going to save Canadian jobs, we need a plan yesterday to fix the disorder at the border. So I'll ask again, where is the Canada First plan to keep our border safe?
Mr. Speaker, this is from the gleeful authors of the Barbaric Practices snitch line. That was their approach to immigration when they last had a chance. We have been very serious with President Trump about our intention to secure the border. It is something that we clearly intend to do. They have an opportunity to do a number of things, and that is to support any asylum reform that we put in front of the House. I encourage them to break their silliness in the House and to do so.
Silliness in the House, is that's what we've got here. You guys haven't been running the government here for 2 months and should be in jail. There's hardly silliness here. And the term snitch line was something very much debated in 2015. It was brought up by the Conservatives as a hotline that people could report people who are abusing immigration fraud, forced marriages for immigration, that sort of thing. The Trudeau Liberals, on the other hand, they like fraud. They support fraud. They're all about the fraud, which they have proven through their actions in the House of Commons. So the next segment here, Stephen McKinnon, the Trudeau's Minister of Labour, just starts going off the rails. He just starts ranting and raving at every single chance.
I agree with the NDP leader who said the Liberal government will always step in to make sure unions have no power. The minister's Section 107 referrals took away workers' rights to strike. As a result of this, Conservatives believe that this Liberal government has lost the confidence of the House of Commons. Now, this puts the NDP and the NDP leader in a tough spot. Will he support his own words, support workers, or continue to prop up this NDP Liberal government, or will the government throw their coalition buddy a line and call a carbon tax election?
Mr. Speaker, you would think this was not from the party that supported the anti-union oppressive Bill C-377 and Bill C-525. You would think this wasn't from the party who has in its own policy handbook the fact that they will be bringing in right-to-work Alabama-style legislation into this House. You would think that that wasn't the party that refused to debate that very motion this morning in this House of Commons.
So his defense of his decision to take away a worker's right to strike is to talk about some things from a few years ago. Unions have unilaterally condemned the Section 107 referrals, and the NDP leader said he intervenes to take away unions' power. That's true. He took away the Teamsters' right to strike. He took away the ILWU's 514's right to strike. But when Unifor 1541 asked him to intervene to prevent union busting, this minister disappears. But the leader of the NDP has a choice to make. Will they keep propping up these guys that make these anti-worker decisions, or will he just stand with his words and vote against it?
You would think that wasn't the party that opposed 10 sick days for employees in federally regulated industries. You would think that that was a party that didn't have right-to-work Mississippi-style legislation in its policy platform. You would think that wasn't the party whose very leader decried the involvement of unions in the procurement and other processes. Mr. Speaker, this Conservative Party is anti-worker. They've proved it on every single occasion that they're able to do it, and we will always stand for workers in this country.
This is all blowing up because the Canada Post strike is still going on. It's crippling Canada right now. There's millions of dollars of money would have been made for Canada Post.
Today, the truth will be revealed. The Conservatives have put forward a non-confidence motion using the quote from the NDP leader where he said the Prime Minister is greedy and anti-worker. So what will it be? Will the leader of the NDP sell out Canadians yet again, or has that Prime Minister made another backroom deal that puts both of their lust for power over the rights of Canadians?
I guess that member's back from announcing the housing projects in her riding that she voted against in this House of Commons. It is a joke, Mr. Speaker. It is a sick joke to watch these Conservatives line up behind this leader and his fake, false bravado, putting motions on the floor of this House. Then we ask them to debate those very motions. What do they say? No, Mr. Speaker. They refuse to debate their own motion. They will not debate help for Canadians. They will not debate tax cuts. They will not debate any support for Canadians in this House of Commons. This is a sick joke.
So what you're seeing here is a perfect example of someone when they're lying. People go two ways. Usually people get quiet. They try to hide their emotions. They try to slip between the cracks. The other way of lying is being over the top. And that's what we have here with Stephen McKinnon. The sick joke is what you guys have done to Canadians. Crippling our economy, phony, baloney numbers on climate, running all the taxpayers into the ground, pushing the lowest level Canadians out onto the streets in tents. That is the sick joke. Look at these clowns. Barking seals here, all clapping. They're really proud of themselves, what they've done to us.
Mr. Speaker, today the Auditor General released a bombshell report on the Canada Emergency Business Account. It highlights serious inefficiencies, a lack of government oversight, and $3.5 billion in losses to ineligible recipients. So how did we get here? The report outlined that the third-party program administrator, Accenture, set their own pricing, wrote their own contracts, ran procurement, and received 19 uncompetitive contracts for $313 million. Why can't the Liberals administer a government program without breaking a conflict of interest law?
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I already talked about the fact that there exists a report that they can read that they don't need security clearance for. So here's the real bombshell, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to security clearance, there are more allegations that have come forward with regards to foreign interference in the Conservative Leadership Party race. Yet the Conservative leader chooses to ignore these security breaches in his own party.
That's a nice drama performance. They're not even addressing the question, what's going on. Just pick some other topic to talk about.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's border and immigration are key issues for the incoming Trump administration. It's no surprise the immigration minister was left out of the Prime Minister's Mar-a-Lago visit, given that it's his failures that have now placed our economy at risk. With IRGC agents hiding behind the refugee program to avoid deportation, can the public safety minister, who did make the trip and whose department finally got around to designating the IRGC as a terrorist that they are, share what he's doing to kick out every single terrorist from Canada? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wow. Wow.
Honourable Minister.
Dropping the heat there on Mark Miller. That's something to, point out, though. The fact that Mark Miller was not on that trip. It was Dominic LeBlanc, Katie Telford. It was not Mark Miller. Why is the immigration guy not there?
Again, Mr. Speaker, we see a member of the House constantly making things up. We are very, very concerned about any foreign agent working in Canada, whether it's as part of any purported terror. The enforcement agencies in our country work diligently to clamp down on these people, to arrest them, to bring them to justice, or to kick them out of the country. We'll continue to do so. Thank you.
Right on.
Give us some examples. You have none. You guys are letting them run rampant. In regards to the confidence motion happening today, so what we've got here, it's on CBC. It says Conservatives block their own non-confidence motion. Privilege debate continues. The latest attempt to bring down the Liberal minority government has stalled after Conservatives blocked their own motion. On Friday, Pierre Poilievre put out that tweet showing what he's planning there, supporting Jagmeet's own words to take down the government. It says when Liberal House Leader Karina Gould moved a motion to adjourn the debate on that filibuster Monday morning, today, the Conservatives said no. So she was trying to get rid of the SDTC scandal. That privilege debate relates to a Conservative demand that the Liberals provide unredacted documents of allegations of misspending at the now defunct Green Slush Fund. The Conservatives said they will only end that debate when the Liberals provide the documents or the NDP agrees to vote non-confidence in the government. So the Liberals here are being really sneaky. They're trying to get rid of that scandal. With that said, we've got Fergus here moving the supply dates around now.
The chair also remarked that a privilege motion must take priority over all other orders of the day. This practice is not absolute. As we have seen on a few occasions this fall, the House may, through a special order or under a unique specific standing order, require a particular action to be taken at a particular time.
Since 4 supply days are yet to be designated and 48 hours notice is required for opposition motions, unless the House decides otherwise, the Chair declares that the last 4 sitting days in the current period, namely Thursday, December 5th, Friday, December 6th, Monday, December 9th, and Tuesday, December 10th, 2024, will be allotted days.
So I got a calendar here. So basically Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday are the 4 supply opposition days now. That clears up why the Liberals today were trying to grill Pierre Poilievre on the fact that he didn't use that motion today because Karina Gould wanted to use that to sweep away the SDTC scandal. They obviously have stuff in there that would put them in jail. Otherwise, they would just hand over the documents. It's quite clear. So a tactic I noticed today, you saw it with Stephen McKinnon. There's actually a couple other Liberal MPs. They're all running their mouth. They're all very over dramatic. I think they're trying to amp up the energy, and it's like they're trying to seem outraged every time they talk about the Conservatives. This is a perfect example.
A Conservative leader has a talent for saying one thing and doing another. Conservatives love to wrap themselves in the flag of tax cuts. But last week, they voted against our tax break. That's right, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative leader said no to putting more money back in the pockets of Canadians. Canadians are wondering, do Conservatives believe in affordability, or is it just a soundbite for their YouTube channel? Mr. Speaker, this government believes in action, not slogans. While Conservative oppose solutions, we will keep delivering for Canadians. It's a Conservative.
Are they laughing back here because this guy's so ridiculous? Like, look at them. This guy's an absolute Looney Tune. They voted against that because it's going to hurt businesses. It gives us 10 cents off shake and bake. Who cares? Cut income tax for 2 months. The guy's like my uncle at 11 p.m. at a wedding, wasted, loosened tie, and talking a bunch of bull crap while the people laugh at him. He rehearsed the hand and shoulder movements all night. Guaranteed. Why are they all laughing at him? It's a joke for these people. Exactly. This guy's just an absolute loser. I think someone, someone posted... Conservative, he's going to lose it here.
While 91% of loans were issued to eligible businesses, we estimated that about $3.5 billion went to ineligible recipients. I am concerned that EDC only partially agreed with our recommendation that it should carry out additional work to identify all ineligible recipients and recover the amounts involved.
The laundry machines are running in the Liberal government. This is absolutely appalling. There you have it. Justin Trudeau and Liberals, they just happened to, just hand over $3.5 billion to ineligible businesses, many of which are not paying the money back. I have a feeling if we keep getting these reports, there won't be people paying taxes come April. I've said it before, I say it again, I keep seeing the comments, I'm not paying my taxes anymore until Polyev gets in, I'm not paying my taxes, I won't pay any more taxes to Liberals. What happens if you have 1 million people or 10 million people don't pay their taxes? There won't be enough cops to go and arrest these people. Are they just going to start stealing the money out of the bank accounts? Locking down their bank accounts? That's quite possible. The Liberals have proven they will do that. Maybe they'll do it again. Will they do it to 10 million people? How about 20 million? Is there a threshold where that number stops? The corruption is out of control. These people all need to go to jail.